Good morning and good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to another episode of Value First Measurement with Danielle Urban. Happy Monday, Danielle.
Happy Monday.
Indeed, I'm excited to start to get into how we implement the world that we have been talking about. Um, and we are going to dive right in today because we know that this stuff resonates with a lot of people, and but it's very, very difficult to see existing systems and understand how in the world we can transition, transform, bridge, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
um, and I'm going to show a little bit about what the end game I think could and should look like, and then we're going to do some mapping, maybe a little role playing with Danielle to think about how this might transpire against all the old ways. So
Exciting.
um, let's just say that we can get people on board with the fact that having a unified customer view is a good idea. Um, uh, that's an understanding and a goal that I like to align on first, because it's usually an easy win as far as like we're all saying yes, we're all aligned, but also it happens to be one of the best goals I think a business could achieve. Um, but what does unified customer view even mean to most businesses? Uh, what does complete picture mean? What does across all touch points mean? This is a little bit about what we're going to get into and what we've been talking about for a while, is creating the space to actually understand the entire picture all the way down to so let's say I was coming to Danielle for help and say, hey, I see this new tool available, or I've been playing with vibe coding and it looks like AI can help us just see all this stuff now. So I want to do that for my business. And we see the entire journey here from May 2023 to October 24, going from audience to champion, all the value path stages in there.
Mhm.
Um, and this is where it gets interesting. Relationship timeline. What do we actually care about as a business? If you know me, I'm very interested in co-creation of content,
Mhm.
with
Clearly.
other people to build relationships. Here, so this is a new learning environment I've been working on um, in the last 24 hours. Uh, and the goal is just to help envision what success could look like, and why you might want it, right? So all the key insights and signals that we've been talking about, like imagine a world which could exist in HubSpot where you can see the content that you're creating with your relationships, with your contacts, right next to their relationship with you as a business. We have case studies here. We can do case studies now in HubSpot, alongside the usual like calls, meetings, right?
Cool.
So I tell you, I want to track all of that. What do you tell me?
Anything's possible. That's always the answer. Like, it depends. We can, but it depends. Um, but I think this is a really interesting representation to think about because it's very parallel to the sort of bow tie that everybody's all excited about, where you have the buyer's funnel and then the land and expand side of it. Because when you actually get to that evangelist stage, as HubSpot has always had parked in their life cycle stages that no one uses effectively, that co-creation of content is evangelizing. Like that is the ultimate point that you want to get to. And the system that you're running out of the box with HubSpot is not really designed to support that. We've got a lot of tools in there, but the actual tracking of that is a little bit more challenging, and especially when that could potentially come before a sale. So like if you and I are working together, we're producing this every week, but we haven't exchanged dollars ever, but someday we could. And so figuring out how to sort of track all that in one place, totally possible. Let's figure it out.
Yes. I'm going to show one more example as you pull up in your Miro, and we
I've got it up. I'm
start
so ready for this.
to dig in. Because I've been, this is one of those benefits of like selling, marketing, and transformation to other people who are doing it. I'm having some fun with this new Value First Team website. And again, that's come to pass over the last 24 hours. Did I mention vibe coding has been unlocked for me? Anyways, so a lot of, as you talk about, again, so value path is my interpretation of a very buyer-centric, customer-centric, human-centric way of looking at the journey. And the breakout of these stages, right, often challenges convention and the way that people want to think about it. And the way that we've always looked at it in HubSpot is you've had, so value creator is replacing the customer stage, and then it goes right to evangelist or champion, right, in most portals. Now, good chat with Tony this morning, like adopter, right? Since we don't break that out, we're like, oh, they're using it, so clearly adoption has happened. It's like, no, like maybe they don't, like adopter, we're breaking that out because you create the space to see they're realized the value. They're not just using the tool, they've realized the value, and now you see that as different behavior than just showing up and logging in and clicking some activities, right?
Yeah.
So now what we're talking about in terms of strategy plus HubSpot data model and what's possible is, as I'm building out the website, and I'm like, so this is a who we help kind of page, where the idea is, all right, we might be specific to, these kinds of by role and team, but often readiness is what's determining like the kind of service or offering or relationship that we're going to have. So imagine, like, if you were to have a page like this, so let's say you bought into the idea of, we want to track the value of creation of content, and what does that even look like, right? So now we have a page that is designed to, right, help people find, industry speaking opportunities, co-creation of value first content. Maybe they want to do their own show, like that level of, so, and we just saw today or Friday, like HubSpot scoring tools that where you have AI insights that look at certain website pages, right, in a different way based on conversion rates and other success metrics, right? To where if I have this page up and people are filling it in and interacting with it, now I have champion data, like, very easily, right? I have champion signals. So I just wanted to highlight that as, like, it's one thing to create like the structure for it, which is, and the strategy for it, but then like what kind of content and what are you doing in digital places to actually allow for the data to come in?
Yeah. That's very cool.
I'm not very good at role playing. I'm sorry. I gotta teach.
That's okay. We each have our strengths. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I've got 2 tabs up. So this conversation sort of came from how do I typically work in scoping calls? And so when we're trying to move people to this unified customer view and have conversations around getting them to shift their thinking a bit into this value first model and what that buyer's journey might look like, when you sort of blow open what a buyer's journey is. And as Chris and I were talking offline, I was saying that this map that I have in Miro that I've shared on LinkedIn, I've created an editable version so we can do what we want with it today, but I have a generic pipeline map, Miro, that's public, shared. Anybody can steal it, copy it, do whatever you want. But I love to pull this up for our clients in a discovery call because so many people don't understand how the different pieces fit together inside of HubSpot as a system. And so this helps to give some visual aids to how you can edit things, how you can change things, and how the work that we as consultants are doing is truly fundamental to how their business is represented in a digital way. Because people don't know that all of this is there. They don't know how it's connected. They don't know all the settings and the automations that happen on the back end, depending on how you use things. And so I have these two visualizations. This one on the left is the standard lifecycle stages, deal stages and lead pipeline status, and then lead status, which hopefully we're all moving away from. And then because in all of my calls, I kept talking about leads, the new leads object, this helps people visualize a buyer's journey and how that is separate from contacts or humans and companies. And this piece of it, I think, is really crucial because now you've got a separation from the person who you're working with and the company that they're a part of, and then the various experiences you might have with them. So the lead stages and deal stages can represent the buying cycle, but then you could also have lead stages and deal stages that represent other collaborations with them. And the other thing I always pull up is the data model because people don't understand, again, that all of these different things are in there that you could potentially take advantage of, how they connect together, and what goes where. So that's how
All of the objects.
all the objects. You have a lot.
HubSpot is more than just contacts, companies, and deals. News flash.
Yeah.
I know it's a surprise to some of you, but
you've got a lot enabled in this portal.
Everything.
First, the courses, projects, listings, you won't always see those services, but it's still helpful to show people like this is how you accurately represent your business in a digital way with all of these pieces that can be interconnected. And so when you think about the value first model and having true relationships with people, how do you document that in a way? How do you capture it where you can actually make sense of it, similar to the very cool UI that you apparently coded in the last 24 hours that you just shared a minute ago? Like, how do you get to that view? It's similar to a company view inside of HubSpot, but you'd have to customize the view. And that's one of my favorite things to work on inside of portals is like, how do we get your team to see and act the way that they should to make this possible? I think it was like 2 summers ago, we even had a conversation about the structure of a record view and how you customize it.
It's actually only last summer.
Was it?
It's only been a year. I know. It's crazy. Because we have unboxed like workspaces and talked about views.
It was like a year and a half ago, to be fair, because it was definitely not this past summer.
It was like June or July, or no, July or August, I think, of last year.
Yeah.
And again, like the power of a workspace in HubSpot or even a CRM record view, the calendar views, like the flexible stuff that's happening is like amazing.
Yeah.
If you have the data there, right?
Right.
And that's where what we're looking at right now, even if like courses, listings, services, those can all be renamed to be available for, if you want to name one of them webinars and then, associate something special that you're doing with the person. Like a lot of people are trying to manage events better, like inside of HubSpot, because there's so much that gets missed through all the event conversations and the outputs. And, again, at the end of the day, we have good sales teams that are able to hold in a lot of context inside of their head to get deals done.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't scale. It's hard to replace, right? We've got to figure out a way, and when the only way to understand that true unified view is to talk to another human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not where we want to be.
Yeah. I think there's so much flexibility in how you navigate HubSpot now. Like there, because it's so flexible, you can build exactly what you need. And so let's use your example of, you have someone where you're co-creating content with them, and that process and that journey is separate from a buyer's journey. You need to track those two things separately, but in parallel. And so you've got your, leads and deal stages to be able to assign dollars to, have your sales team work out of those objects. And again, those are completely separate from contact and company. So you can set your life cycle stages to match the value first stages and still have that all align perfectly. And then use something else, whether that's an object called content, or if it's as specific as webinars, you could have that, because you have these board views to manage that process, and then you can associate contacts to it. And so if you have one person where you and I are co-creating content, and then you come to me with a consulting offer, now all of a sudden I'm a lead in your HubSpot, and you have all of this data of all the things we've done together. Despite, like, let's say you had a whole sales team too, you're now handing me off as a lead to your sales team. So you've lost all of that tribal knowledge, unless you like sit down and tell them about me, but you've lost all that tribal knowledge of all the content that we've covered together. So the salesperson can now go in and see, oh, we've done all of this content together. Here were all the topics, here are all the links. Maybe we even have it all in a project LLM that we can query and figure out what I've complained about live and online, because I do that a lot. And then your salesperson all of a sudden has all of this context at their fingertips to be like, hey, Danielle, you've been in this a while. Here's what I think we could do to work together. Here's how I think we should move forward. What do you think? And then you're then building on the relationship rather than starting with a fresh relationship. The salesperson has never spoken to me before, but because we've captured all of this data in a very structured and understandable way inside of the system, they don't have to build that relationship from nothing. There's of course the interpersonal side of it. They have to not be a jerk, but like if they just take a few minutes and have the tools available to them to build on top of the mountains of data that you and I would have in a CRM, if this was all captured, is like that sales should be like a 1 week sales cycle. Like they should just be like, hey, here are all the things you've complained about in the past year and a half. Here's how I think we can fix it for you. Like, done. Yes, please.
Yeah. No, the fastest, like, and that's where when you look at the Miro map, it can get so like you're not doing this because the SaaS tool is telling you to do it.
Right.
Right. You do it because you need to know as a business where somebody is in their journey with you and on their own. Where is the trust level?
Mhm.
Right. When you keep thinking about it from an internal process perspective, you totally miss the human aspect of it, where, if somebody has high trust, right, but they're not a deal, like they might be the closest to another deal for
Right.
you if you just engage them in a conversation and ask them, do you know anybody else? Like, leverage the loyalty, the trust that you built there. And those are the kinds of things that just get completely missed because we got to focus on leads and deals, and we can't
Right.
think outside of the box in terms of like the kind of literally relationship management,
Yeah.
that we're trying to do in this tool. Can you go back to listings real
Yeah.
quick and click on events, like as an object?
Yeah.
I think this is going to be good. Right. So
Oh, calendar view.
yeah,
That'd be cool.
calendar's not
On
going to
the
be good.
date.
Um, but like, so if you scroll down, like this is where a lot of the data summit stuff is in here.
Mhm.
And that's where just like everybody knows that word of mouth and referrals and things like that. Um, we want to enable those conversations at scale at this point. So having contacts that you might be creating content with that might be right next to the decision maker, you can have both things next to each other now, right?
Mhm.
If it's a guest during an event or the co-creation activity, that's why you want that there.
Mhm.
Because then you build up trust with one person doesn't mean you automatically have trust with the rest of the organization. And often the rest of
Right.
the organization is what gets in the way of you, winning business,
Yeah.
right?
And I think that's where people misunderstand the difference between life cycle stages for contacts and companies inside of HubSpot. Like, to get really granular and technical about it, rename these, make them your reality. They do have to be joined, unfortunately. Like, your life cycle stage for companies has to match life cycle stages for contacts. Um, as far as I know, unless they've updated that. I always have to like put that asterisk on everything I say about HubSpot. I was like, I don't know, did they change it today? But as far as I know, these do have to be the same. Like, you set life cycle stages, period, and they're the same for contacts and companies. But I think that still works really well because you can have customers, you can have a company as a customer, but you can have users or champions or people within that organization that you have varying relationships with. And that's where you should have, post customer granular lifecycle stages. I really love the adopter because right now the way that people are onboarding to software is very siloed. You have marketing for demand gen. We hit a point, they go to sales, it hits a point, it goes to customer success and onboarding. And that process hopefully should all live in the same system at least. But to categorize people can really help tie back to marketing and how you might have somebody who's in an adopter stage where they don't fully see the value yet, but you are doing your damnedest to make sure that they do. They're going to be the ones that are the target for your lifecycle marketing team, for your customer success team, to make sure that they're hand holding and checking up on. We want to give everybody a workspace that makes sense for the jobs they need to get done that day, but a unified view so that everybody has the data that makes the most sense to super serve that relationship with where they are.
Yes. The context is so important. And that's where I'm having some interesting conversations, and I'm about to have one with Casey and Riley about, who in the world of scoring, right? And even lead generation as far as the object, right?
Mm-hmm.
This difference between like, are we tracking the people or the company or the activity or,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're about to talk about like, who are we scoring, right? And when
Yeah.
you think about it just from a usual lead perspective, that's why we're not good at renewals and upsells and cross sells, because there's so many signals coming from over there, and we don't know how to create data objects effectively to represent that. I mean, the easiest example is anybody who's onboarded Marketing Hub. At
Mm-hmm.
some point in the process, you will come across Content Hub, and they might not have it yet. Be
Yeah.
very obvious that they are going to get value out of it. It doesn't mean you're hard selling right there. It also doesn't mean you want to create a deal right in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't capture that signal in some way, you're very unlikely, like, you got to wait for them to bring it up, and then you just,
Right.
like, that's you lose that stuff. And there's so many ways, as you start to identify these different stages, that you can add value in that way. Always be prepared to create more, and then you completely avoid the journey of urgency that we all have. Like, end of the month, I got to do this thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, you're always in an agile stance, which is the beauty of when you get these data objects right and this data model right.
Yeah.
It's
That's
it's
accurate.
easier to not be caught off guard, right?
Yeah. It's kind of the push and pull. Like, how much can you build to indicate things? Because as you're talking, I'm like, wow, if I were consulting people trying to build these signals in HubSpot, I basically would tell everybody just get enterprise and we'll go like crazy granular on signals, which not everybody's going to do. Like, it's an expensive endeavor, but it unlocks so much, because if you get into custom events, using your example of Marketing Hub to Content Hub, it's like they try to do X. Let's code that as a custom event. And then when that custom event fires, you create it as a lead. That lead gets fed Content Hub plus Marketing Hub nurture emails. Maybe there's a meetup, maybe there's a customer story that you can feed into that. And then it all just happens. Then like you can start to build a real personal relationship with a salesperson who's picking up that lead that was created, have all this context. And again, that conversation is, hey, it looks like you've been really active. Love what you're building. You know, this seemed to resonate without being creepy. There's a fine line there. Like this seemed to resonate. How can we help you build more? Like, what does your team look like? Would this fit for you? And then it's this like prescriptive hand-holding relationship that is selling, rather than like it's the end of the month, where are your deals at, we have to close quota. Like it just completely flips that on its head. And I think everybody wants that, but there's a lot to build to get to that point. Because you'd have to build out, you'd have to understand the pattern matching of like what are the activities that would indicate that. You have to build to capture that signal. You have to build the follow-up, and you have to build the culture to be able to receive that and follow up in a way that's not creepy and makes sense. But that's what we're here for, right? We're going to go
Build
build
the
that.
culture. Yes. The stuff that we can.
Yeah.
That's for sure. That one's pretty hard to do on behalf of others. But we're going to keep after this. A lot of us are excited about kind of cracking this code, because it does, like, man, just using plain language and just asking for common sense things from the systems, from the people around you, starts to make like alignment happen without so much effort, and gets us out of that push pull related to attribution and into like creating value for each other and for customers. So we're going to continue on this journey next week. And I enjoy getting to watch somebody else pull up maps. So I thank you, Danielle, as always. And I hope everybody has a great week.
Thanks.
Thanks, Danielle.